Hi guys, it's Rebecca. Thank you so much for joining me for today's video. Today's video is going to be part 3 of my makeup inventory, and I will be talking today about my face palettes. Now, I'm trying like this to format this a little bit different than I have other years. And so I hope you guys are okay with that. This intro is off camera because I feel like my videos have been too long and I'm trying to shorten them to make them more watchable, if that makes sense. So I'm going to start with the face palettes, and this stack right here are from brands that I only have one of. So as we go on the video, you're gonna see brands that I have 2 of, 3, 4 of, things like that, you know. So yeah, I'm gonna get started. So like I said, this stack face palettes I have 1 of. The first one is from Kat Von D. This is from the Kat Von D line. This is the Alchemist palette, and this is marketed as an eye and face palette because the shades that are in here are like shades that you can use as highlighters on the face, or shades to use over your eyeshadow to change the colors of your eyeshadow. So I bought this at Marshall's. This is still in its original box, and according to the sticker, I paid $7.99 for this. So it was totally a steal. Haven't used it, it's brand new, and yeah, excited to try it out. The next one is from Bobbi Brown. This is, what is this called? I think there is an actual name for this. This is the Bobbi to Glow Shimmer Brick palette. It's all dusty, but basically you get 3 shimmer bricks in here. You get a highlighter, a bronzer, and a blush. I have a mini of the bronzer, but obviously I've only swatched this. I never actually used it, which is most of my collection, and I'm fine with that. This one's from Milani. This is kind of like a highlighter, blusher, bronzer type palette. The pans on this are very weird. Even just swatching this feels kind of weird. But yeah, you get very light blushes here, a little bit darker, a bronzer, and then these 2 are really highlighters. Once you swatch them, they kind of look more like highlighters, but that's this one. Then I have, let me take these out of the box. I have the Cali Contour palette from Smashbox. This one is obviously brand new. If I can just, I don't want to dig my nail. And I just did, dang it. I was trying to do it on camera and I dug my nail on it. Dang it. Okay, well, this is what this looks like. You get a face powder, some highlighters, bronzers, and a blush that I just ruined with my nails. Oh, well, you know, it happens. So that's this one. And then this one from Too Faced, the Sugar Peach Wet and Dry Face and Eye Palette. I believe you can use these as eyeshadows or just eye products. I mean, face products. Obviously, you can use this as a blush, or these 2 as a blush, highlighter, and bronzer, and then any kind of combination of these. On your eyes, you can use them wet or dry. I'm not a fan of using products wet, to be honest. But yeah, this is a pretty palette. Then this one from Lorac. This is this was part of the collection when they came out with the Palettes of the Caribbean eyeshadow. They did an eyeshadow palette, some lip products, and then this little face palette, and it comes with 6 little pans. Well, not little, but you know, 6 pans. Combination of highlighters, a bronzer, and I think this is a blush. I think it's still considered a highlighter. Maybe these 3 highlighters. But yeah, I haven't used it in a while. It's getting up there in age. It's been a while since they came out with this. Then I have this Charlotte Tilbury palette. This is the Glowing Pretty Skin palette. It comes with powders, bronzers, highlighters, and contours, blushes, things like that. And this is what the guy looks like. Very pretty. This is, I think I got this last year or maybe 2 years ago. It's super pretty. The sizes are not very big. 2.3 grams, so I could actually pan this like in a year if I really wanted to, but obviously I'm focusing on some other things right now. I'll get to that eventually. And then this one from Fenty Beauty is actually advertised as a highlighter palette, but given the shades that this palette has, I am also considering it like an eye palette, because I think I would use some of these shades on my eyes, not necessarily just on my face. So that's why, even though it's only advertised as a face, like a, what do you call it, a highlighter palette, I have it considered like an eye and face palette. So very pretty shades, very pretty. Next up, I have two brands that I have two of, and they are NARS and Physicians Formula. This one is, if I'm not mistaken, just a highlighter and bronzer palette. This is what it looks like, very skinny, long pants. You get basically 4 highlighters and 2 bronzers. You have Laguna and Casino as the shades, and then these are the other 4 shades for the highlighter. So very, very pretty. And then this one, it's very reflective, as you guys can see. It's a blush face, bronzer, contour, and blushes. My goodness, I can't talk. It's more of a full face as opposed to this other one where it's only 2 products, and this is kind of like an all-encompassing face palette. Very pretty, very, very nice palette. Then I have these 2 from Physician. I'm gonna turn this over because it's really reflective. I have these 2 from Physicians Formula, and they're both face palettes. Basically, they all have face powders, blushes, highlighters, and bronzers. This is the first one. It does have like this little plastic cover on top to keep it protected. But as you guys can see, the highlighters, the bronzers, the face powder, and then this really pretty blush. And this one is almost the same thing. But you have the bronzers, the blushes, the face powder, and then this is a really very golden highlighter. I don't know how I would use it, but yeah, very, very pretty products. Next, I have 3 brands that I have 3 palettes from. And first, for Benefit, I have basically 3 palettes of the same thing. This is the Chickathon blush and bronzer palette. As you guys can see, you have some blushes, bronzers, and a highlighter. Well, actually, I don't think this is a highlighter. I think this is just a blush and bronzer. Let me take out the plastic here. There you go. That's a little bit better. This is the first one that they came out with, and every year that they came out with one, I felt like I needed to have it, and that's how I ended up with 3. Basically, you're getting 5 full-size products for, I think, the price of what 2 would cost or something. So it was a really great deal. In hindsight now, I had a collector's mind a few years ago, if you guys can't tell, and so that's why I ended up buying all 3 of them. Sometimes I'm tempted to buy like the little trio that they have come up with recently, but I'm like, no, don't do it. So that's the Chickathon. This next one is the Cheek Leaders Pink Squad. And let me see if I can open it. Take out the little plastic here. So basically almost the same thing. It comes with Hoola, Dallas, and Dentalline, which is in this palette right here. And then the new one is California and the highlighter Tickle. And then the other one, the Geek Stars Reunion Tour, they kind of brought back like the older products, like the OG products from Benefit. You get Sugar Bomb and Georgia. Still, again, you get Dallas and Hoola. And then Cookie is one of their newer highlighters at the time that they made this palette. So this one is the newest one in my collection. Then the Cheek Leaders, and then the Chickathon is the oldest one. So that's that. Then I have 3 palettes from Becca. This one first is the Be a Light face palette. It's kind of, the products here are reminiscent to me of like the Hourglass powders. You get a highlighter, a face palette, like a face color type product, a bronzer, and a little high blush. And these were very popular a while back, but obviously nobody talks about them anymore. And then this was a collab with Chrissy Teigen, I think that's her last name, and it's a product with blushes and highlighters. That's what this guy looks like. Oh, can I hide from the camera? There you go. Very pretty colors. I don't really care for Chrissy Teigen, but this was very, I was seeing this palette everywhere and everybody was talking about it, and it was kind of like an impulse buy type product. So that's this one. Then I have the Ski Press. I think that's what this is called. A Press Ski Glow Collection. And these are basically all the highlighters from Becca. So pretty. If you guys remember seeing my base product collection, you guys would have seen that I have some of these in little minis, and then I have this other one as a palette. So yeah, that's what the last portion of my Becca highlighters would look like. Once I'm done with this one, that's it for Becca highlighters. And then I have 3 from Urban Decay. I have 2 of the same, the Urban Decay Naked Flush palettes, but they're in different colors. This one is in Naked and this one is in Streak. I did use up Native this year, if you guys remember. And let me show you guys what the blushes look like. The highlighter and the bronzer are basically the same. It's just the blush that is different. This one's a little bit more mauve-y, this one's a little bit more peachy, and the one that I used up this year was a little bit more of a pink shade. So if I really wanted to, I could probably put both of these in my makeup I want to use up in a certain year and use both of them up, because I went through it pretty quickly, to be honest. And then this one is the Urban Decay Afterglow Highlighter and Blush Palette. It comes with, I think they're all supposed to be blushes except Sin is a highlighter, but I feel like I could get away with using Paranoid and maybe even PSA as a bronzer. Most of these I believe have been discontinued. I do have Score as a single and Sin as well, so it's nice to have a backup of these. Next is the Sephora brand. I do have 4 face palettes from there, this one being the newest one. This is the Sephora Micro Smooth Multitasking Baked Face Palette in the color Enchant, which I believe is the lighter shade of the 2. I think they have 2 shades. But this is what it looks like. 2 blushes, highlighter, and a bronzer. Very small palette, but I think I love the baked products from Sephora collection, and I have pretty high hopes for this one. And then this one was supposed to be a dupe for the ABH Contour palette that they had a few years back. Oh! I was like, why are these bubbling up? How weird. Well, I guess it's a sign that I should get this guy used up sooner rather than later. Oh my gosh, that is so weird that it like bubbled up. And okay, well, there you have it. It has 3 face products and 3 bronzers. Like I said, this is a dupe for the ABH Contour Kit, which I used up last year, I believe. So if I really wanted to, I could use this guy up in a year. If I remember correctly, this was slightly bigger than the ABH palette, which is why I panned that other one. Yeah, this one has 3.5 grams per pan, whereas the ABH one was only 3 grams. So it would probably take me a little longer, but I know that I could use it. Let's look at this one. This is the blush palette. This is just what it's called, blush palette. But it does have some highlighters and shades that I could use. Probably this is a very light bronzer. And of course, shimmery and matte blushes. None of these are bubbling up, so that's good. And then the other one is the hologram. Oh, I forgot to take it out of the bag. This is what the palette looks like. Now this one looks kind of crazy because they're face products, but these are very sheer. They kind of work the same way as the Alchemist palette from ABH, in which that if you use it on top of these, it transforms the color of these bottom products. So I could use them together, separate, in collaboration with other things. So this is a fun palette to try. And then the last stack of my face palettes. These are the palettes that basically have face products, but they have also eyeshadow products in them. So the other ones didn't have any eyeshadows. These do, and I'm going to start with the one on top that's super reflective. But this is the Tarte Pineapple palette. I don't know if it has a specific name, but I just call it the Pineapple palette because, well, obvious reasons. But this guy has a ton of eyeshadows. If I can open it, this side is just all eyeshadows, which I have used, as you guys can see, a little bit in previous years. And then on the other side, it has a nice little mirror, and then it has 2 blushes, a highlighter, and a bronzer. So a lot of people have been wanting me to use this as my Panda palette, but there's just so many eyeshadows in here. I wouldn't be opposed to having this as my Panda palette, but it would have to be, you know, I would have to use some of these shades throughout a couple of years before I dive into it, because most of them are brand new. So let me put this out of the frame because it's super reflective. Okay, moving on to the other palettes that are eyeshadow and face products. This is the Lorac Pro To Go. This is also one of the oldest ones in my collection. Pretty basic shades, neutral shades right there. And then you have 2 blushes and a bronzer. Then you have another one from Tarte. This is the Style by Harouche. I believe she was an influencer. I don't know if she still is, but this one has 6 eyeshadows, and a blush. I remember this blush being a lot more vibrant, so I guess because of how old it's getting, it's kind of losing its pigmentation maybe, but I still think it's a very, very pretty product. Another one from Lorac. This is the Lorac and Refined Romance Eye Cheek Palette, and this one has another 6 eyeshadow pan that's very neutral. You have 2 highlighters and a blush, and the heater just kicked in, so I hope it's not too distracting for you guys. Then I have the Back Talk palette from Urban Decay. Let me take this out of the box. This does come with a little divider that is a mirror, so I'm going to take it out so as to not blind you guys. But yeah, basically you have all eyeshadows on one side and then 3 blushes and a highlighter on the other side. Multitasking face palette with rosy tones. Thought about making this my pan that palette, but obviously changed my mind. This one from Ulta Beauty. This is a Melissa Michelle YouTube beauty vlogger collaboration. This has 9 eyeshadows, a lip product that I already used up, and then a couple of face products. I believe this is a blush, maybe a bronzer. This is another one that like the pigment has kind of changed because of how old it is, and then this is definitely a highlighter, so that's this one. Then I have 2 from the Balm. This is the Bon Jovi palette. Already used up the lip products, and I'm only left with the eyeshadows and the face products. So this one was one of the contenders that I had for my Pan That palette, but given that it has 12 eyeshadows, I kind of wanted to work on a little bit less so I could focus on that Gwen Stefani palette. And then this one is the Bon Voyage. This has also finished. Well, actually, I depotted these because they had gone off. They were just very sticky and ugly. And this only has 9 eyeshadows and blush, bronzer, 2 blushes, 1 highlighter, and a bronzer. So that's that one. And then the last one that I have here is from Carli Bybel. I can take this out of the packaging as well. This is the deluxe edition 21 eye color eyeshadow and highlighter palette. I know Jessica from Jessica Lee, she panned this palette, I believe, a couple of years ago. She even used these highlighters. But yeah, it's a very pretty shade, very neutral shades with lots of browns and some pinks. I love the pinky peachy shades that are in here, and this is a very pretty palette overall. So there you have it, guys. Those are my face palettes. I feel like the section of face palettes in which that include eyeshadows has decreased a lot based on what I used to have, so I'm excited for the numbers at the end. I haven't done any numbers. I'm just filming this as I'm going. I'm not really comparing anything, so stay tuned for the wrap up of my inventory when you guys actually see how things have changed. So I'm excited about that. But for now, that's all I have for this section of the video collection. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you on the next one. Bye.